Alright, so this is going to be part 3 to What If Tanjiro was in Black Clover. So with that being said, let's just roll the intro.
Bow in the presence of greatness. 'Cause right now that has forsaken us. You should be honored by my lateness. That I would even show up to this fake shit. So go ahead, go nuts, go.
Alright, so in the last part we had just gotten done with Tanjiro basically training Noelle for a bit, as well as the group going to Saucy Village to help out. So we're going to continue off of there. And keep in mind, I'm going to be skipping a lot of the stuff that doesn't change. So if it stays the same or pretty much the same as in canon, I'm pretty much going to skip it so you can continue with the story. Other than that, I'd like to say that if you guys really enjoy this series, please tell me down below. Tell me what I could do better, what you guys want to see in the future of this series, and things like that. Also, I want to say that I chose doing this video before other series due to a poll that I did on my community tab, so I'm going to do more of those in the future, so make sure you check out the community tab, or if you see the poll, vote on it. And if you want to know when I do those polls, you could do the bell notification when you subscribe. So with that being said, let's actually get into the video. So it's been about a week or so after everything that's happened at the village transpired, and Tanjiro has been getting better with his language, and he's been training Noelle when he can. But their downtime is quickly ended as there is a report of a new dungeon popping up, and obviously the Clover Kingdom wants to check it out. Because it's at the border of two different countries, there's going to be some competition when it comes to the loot. So they want to get there early and get as much as they can before the Diamond Kingdom can. So the Wizard King wants Asta and Noelle to go as he sees the most potential in them. He also recruited the Golden Dawn to go with them as well, as he also has a liking to Yuno, for he has the 4-leaf clover grimoire, that is. So Yami would make up the team. He would have Asta, Noelle, and Luck go, as Luck is a bit more experienced, and Tanjiro, well, he's been on too many missions lately and he needs some time off. So those three go off. Now Noelle would try to ask Tanjiro and ask him why he's not going, being kind of nervous. And the Tanjiro would say, I have some business in the capital. You guys are gonna be fine. Just trust in your training. And that's where he heads off. He goes to the capital. Now cutting back to the group again, Noelle would be, well, nervous to actually try out her skills, as she isn't that skilled in swordsmanship even after the training because it's only been so little time. And if you guys are wondering about the other members of the Black Bulls, most of them aren't really melee focused, so a lot of them aren't gonna learn a breath style, but one particular character that is gonna be Magna. He is someone who looks up to Tanjiro for a number of reasons, but it mostly has to do with their fight that they had at the beginning to choose a second vice captain. With the respect that Tanjiro gives to Magna, it's only right for him to give it back, and the difference in power is shown. And because Tanjiro learned more breath styles in the 2 years after the end of the manga, in this What If series, not in actual canon, I just have to make the distinction for those who think what I'm saying is real. Anyways, back to the story. Well, at this point, Magna does not actually have any knowledge on the breath styles just yet because he's saving up for a sword just like Tanjiro had asked him to. Because, well, it's the easiest to learn with, as well as they're kind of expensive given that Yami had to get a loan for it, and he's the captain, so he should have the most amount of wealth generally, but he's also not good with money, so it's kind of hard to tell with that. Anyways, with them getting to the dungeon via portal from Finral, they get there pretty much immediately. And this is where I'm going to skip a lot of the story here, to the point in where they meet up with the Shining Generals. So this would happen after they beat the Smoke Mage General, as well as them getting to basically Mars and someone else, which I'll introduce in a bit, attacking the Golden Dawn, and Noelle, Asta, and Luck arrive on the scene to help them out. Once there, the group sees two individuals from the Diamond Kingdom, one with bluish silver hair with diamonds embedded into his forehead, and the other a shirtless man with a boar mask. Not only that, but that boar mask also has crystals of some sort embedded within the mask. Now this sight is very strange, but seeing that they're very strong and enemies to boot, the group quickly helps out the Golden Dawn. And you could pretty much guess who it is, so I won't keep it a secret. It's Inosuke. Now Inosuke had fallen into the Diamond Kingdom's territory, and because of that, with him being Inosuke, being very aggressive and being confused at the language, he wouldn't be able to basically control his anger, or at least get arrested due to the fuss that he would make. And this is where the Diamond Kingdom would take advantage of this. Seeing his strength and him not having a grimoire, they would take him to a tower to get his grimoire and do some experiments on him. These are the crystals that Mars and a lot of the other generals have. And just like Mars and Ladros, these crystals control Inosuke's mind. Not only does this control his mind, but it also gives him a basic understanding of the language, and therefore he could communicate with the others in his rank. So the fight would commence, and Luck would immediately jump into the fight using his lightning magic. He would go for Mars, and Mars would basically plate himself with the diamond magic that he has, or the crystal magic, and he would surround himself to block the hit from Luck, obviously going at super fast speeds. With Mars busy, this is where Asta would attack Inosuke, but Inosuke doesn't fight like a normal person. He fights almost like a beast, using low stances, and his incredible flexibility is more than Asta can handle in terms of technique, since it's completely different. Now, what magic does Inosuke have? Well, it's already been shown in the series, and only one character has it, and that's going to be Beast Magic. A fitting magic for Inosuke, I do think myself. Anyways, back to the story. We would go back to Tanjiro and his adventure in the capital. Right now he's talking to the Wizard King, and the Wizard King is giving information to Tanjiro. So at the beginning of the series, Tanjiro would have given descriptions for all of his friends and family, and they think they found someone from his group, that being Inosuke. Rumors have found that there is someone within the ranks of generals that has a boar mask fitting Tanjiro's description. And because there's high tension between the two countries, there's going to be a chance that they might fight. Tanjiro would try to plead with the Wizard King, talking about how Inosuke would never do these savage acts that the Diamond Kingdom is known for, because he isn't that type of person. And the Wizard King believes Tanjiro because of another, information that he's gotten, and that is that the Diamond Kingdom does experiments with the mind and with crystals, and they think that he may be under some sort of control, whether it is complete control or just obedience, if that makes sense. Kind of like they're conscious and they don't want to do the actions, but they're forced to, either through torture, blackmail, or other means. So going back to the fight with Inosuke and Asta, Asta would immediately recognize the sword that Inosuke is using, although it is slightly different as it does have, I guess, teeth on it. Not physical teeth like what you have in your mouth, but how the blade is serrated, I guess. So it's very similar to Tanjiro's, just with the serrated teeth on it. So he's wondering, like, why does he have two swords that are very similar? Now keep in mind that Black Clover doesn't really have katanas. The only one who has it in the series is, Yami. So Asta would be more familiar with a long sword kind of sword instead of a katana like sword. So Asta would be in a pretty dire situation, as although the strength difference shouldn't be too dramatic, it kinda is at this point, because Inosuke can use reinforcement magic, which enhances his physical abilities. Asta doesn't have that, and Asta can't really take that away from him unless he stabs him, We see this with Beto and how he's just able to just increase his physical strength, and the only way to really take that off was to stab him with his sword, not just hitting him normally. So Asta is struggling very much so at this point, but he's trying to keep himself together, as even Luck himself is having trouble with Mars. Seeing this, Noelle would have to spring into action. She tries to help Asta first, as it seems like he is struggling more than, well, Luck is, because Luck is able to break the clones that Mars creates. So as she tries to help Asta, she does the first form of the breath of the water, that being water surface slash. Now, as you see the representation of her breath style, it isn't like a huge like wave of water like Tanjiro was at the beginning of the series. Rather, it's a small dip of water. You could see this in the game for Demon Slayer with Murata, where he tries to do different like water breathing like techniques. It's a lot less water in the visual, so that's kind of what's happening here. But she supplements this lack in practice with magic, making it stronger. Now she tries to hit Inosuke, but something isn't quite adding up. Inosuke would dodge it pretty easily because Inosuke has a very high level of touch, meaning he would have felt Noelle coming by. It's also plausible that he would have ki, as he's the most connected to nature, similar to how Veto was and how he had ki without really knowing it. So yeah, Asta at this point would see an opportunity and, well, hit Inosuke with his sword, hitting it with the flat side as hard as he could, as he knows he has to take him out as fast as he can so that he doesn't get up. So that's what he does. This knocks out Inosuke, and he leaves the anti-magic sword on him for a little bit. This would drain his magic. Going back to Tanjiro, the Wizard King would tell Tanjiro that it's most likely that they would have sent some of the Shining Generals down to the dungeon to check it out. So there would be a possibility that Inosuke would be there. So he takes Finral to teleport him to the entrance, and he goes down to the dungeon to see if he's there. So the fight with Mars wouldn't be all too different, with Asta's anti-magic working a lot better against him than against Inosuke, because Inosuke has physical swords that aren't made of magic. So with Mars being defeated, they can continue on and, well, look around the treasure room, as Asta would destroy the front entrance, letting everyone go through. Here Yuna would find the wind spirit, Sylph, and everyone would just look around. After a bit, they would get surprised attacked by Mars. Here he would injure Noelle to the point where she could die. Not only that, but also Asta is knocked back into a wall. Here he finds his second sword, that being his Demon Dweller sword. Here he would get back up and try to face Mars again. But it would be really hard since, well, Asta's more worn out than he was in canon, since he had to fight two people, and Inosuke was a pretty hard fight to begin with. So he's a lot slower than normal. This would cause Asta to get injured more, and everyone would also already be trapped at this point, so they can't help him. As it seems like the battle is going to be over, Yuno would unknowingly activate the wind spirit, destroying the giant blade that would have killed Asta. But it's not enough. The others are also free, because at the same time as this fight is going on, they would be trying to get themselves free from the crystals. But Mars is a lot more ruthless than he was before, and the amount of attacks coming out are just endless. It's hard for any of them to fight back. Not only that, but he also has recovery magic on, since he has the dual magics. And it seems like our heroes might not make it through. But this is where Tanjiro would come through. He would actually be using a breath of the sun technique, that being Burning Bones Summer Sun. Now typically this move would be used defensively, but instead in this case it would be used offensively. So what it does, it is a circular slash that goes around a person, and this is used to basically protect themselves from projectiles and pretty much anything that would come into contact. So that's what Tanjiro is doing in this case, but he's actually leaping forward as he does this style. So it would basically destroy the armor that Mars would be using. With this, Mars doesn't have enough magic to create another one, but only enough to heal himself. Restless, he tries to attack him, but this is where a cloud of smoke fills the room, and essentially they're gone, nowhere to be seen. This is because the other general that was with them, the smoke mage, actually saved both Inosuke and Mars. From this, they hide in the shadows, and the others try to basically lick their wounds. With no real time to celebrate, the group has to leave as everything is collapsing around them. So that's what they do. They exit and, well, leave. Now Tanjiro did see Inosuke, but because Asta was getting attacked, he had no time to basically see him or try to get him, as he had no time to do so. So he basically rushed in to help Asta instead of going with Inosuke. And on top of that, they basically disappeared within smoke, and the place is getting destroyed, so they can't look for them. Outside the dungeon, Tanjiro would look rather sad, and Asta would ask him about this, and he would tell him, "Did you fight the man in the boar costume?" And Asta said, "Yeah, but it was really hard, but for some reason it felt like he wasn't even trying." And my explanation for this would be, Inosuke is a wild beast, and what you're doing here is trying to put a collar on him, and because of that, it really just hinders his potential. But keep in mind, this is an Inosuke 2 years after the manga, so being Inosuke, he'd probably train a lot, especially since he knows Tanjiro knows the Breath of the Sun, so he would train a lot harder, more than Tanjiro, who can't really train his hardest, or really needs to. Then Asta would say another thing. He would say that that man had the same sword like yours, but a little bit different. It was rigid. Then Tanjiro would simply say that that man that Asta fought was his friend. And Asta would say, "Are you from the Diamond Kingdom?" And this is where Tanjiro would say, "No, don't you remember? I'm not from this continent, and neither is he. But I believe that he's being controlled. Inosuke wouldn't do something like this. So if you see him again, please tell me. He's one of the people I've been looking for. He's a friend, and he's as close as family." Alright, so this is going to be in the video. I know this one's a little bit shorter than the other ones in this series, but I didn't really have that much time on my hands, so I'm trying to get this video out somewhat quick. So with that being said, hope you guys like it. If you did, please give it a like, and if you want to see something happen in the story that hasn't happened already, you can comment it down below, and there I will read the comments. If you made it to the end of this video, please comment down CS so I know you support the channel. And with that being said, let's give a shout out to the patrons over on Patreon. So if you want to join them, the link will be in the description, or you can go to patreon.com/ComicSansTheMan. With that being said, let's actually give them the shout out. So in our gold tier, we have Nippy Director, Kenny, and Dwayne Fenn. In our platinum tier, we have Lyco. So if you want to join them and get my videos early, or a art request from me, then you can join them at my Patreon. So with that being said, this is going to be the video. So yeah.